Park Hyunsoo won't be able to handle it, Lee Min-na thought. After all, he has almost no experience in combat. She still ran as fast as she could to the scene. The woman, running past a store that sold kettlebells, decided to stop. Entering the shop, Min-na chose the heaviest kettlebell. Leaving the others behind, she went outside. There, Min-na lifted the object into the air and began to spin it. The kettlebell rotated around the woman like the earth around the sun, but at an incredible speed. Grabbing its handle, Lee Min-na flew into the air. The seller was shocked. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Hyun-soo was stopped by Hyurak. She asked him why he had come. With a confident look, he said that he was going to kill him. The girl said that would not do, because this monster had also pissed her off, and she wanted to do it herself. But if Hyun-soo promised her to join their guild, she would agree. The young man just smiled. The energy around him began to swirl. The girl thought that the guy was too charged. She knew he was talented, but now he seemed to be stretched like a string. Before she could blink, Yaha flew at supersonic speed towards the monster. The girl didn't even notice him move. In a second, Hyun-soo was at the snake's side. He began to use crushing strikes from the first level of the sky. The monster staggered and was wounded after the first attack. It began to retreat, breaking everything in its path. However, the young hunter moved after it at super high speed. The boy found himself in front of the monster's head. He began to use crushing blows of the second level. The blows became more and more powerful. The giant snake was bleeding. The master who was supervising everything thought that he had only raised the boy's stamina to a high level, but that somehow he had comprehended the muscle memory of a celestial demon, which is passed down from generation to generation. The monster tried to attack with its last strength. Instead, Hyun-soo began to fly higher using the flight of a celestial demon. Concentrating his strength, he aimed directly at the monster's head. The warrior used a third-level celestial punch. He smashed the monster's skull, thus rendering a death sentence to the serpent. The blow caused blood and all the energy to pour out of different parts of the monster's body. In a moment, it completely dissolved. Hyurak, who was watching, could not believe the boy's strength. At the same moment, Lee Min-na flew over. She also could not imagine that he was capable of such a thing. Yaha noticed that the girl was late. Min-na was delighted and called the young man Hyun-soo aside. Hyurak was surprised. But not everything is eternal. The temporary awakening of the ability to superpower stopped. The boy was disappointed. Suddenly he felt an unrelenting pain. Blood gushed out of his mouth. He began to fall to the ground. The girls did not hesitate to save him. The master jokingly said that the boy had booked 2 of the best beauties. Later, the water began to recede. As it washed down the streets of the city, people who had been trapped by the elements began to escape. Yun's brother and sister were happy that their older sister had survived. They rushed into her arms. Everyone was happy that the disaster was finally over. The archer reported to the panther that she had taken the girl home. In turn, the panther said that things were gradually getting better. He said that the head of the Red Lion Guild had dealt with the sorceress. He also added that the giant snake was killed by that unknown hunter. In some places, the water level was still quite high. As she was leaving, the archer said that Yun was safe. She, in turn, thanked the hunters. The fierce sunny day continued. The local hospital. After a while, Hyun-soo ended up there. He was very exhausted. The master was watching the young man all the time. He asked when he would be able to get up. The boy asked a counter question. He realized that he was in a hospital, but he had no memory of how he got there. His first thoughts were that he had been defeated. The mentor said that he had a bad memory. The old man said that he had lost consciousness after receiving crushing blows from heaven, and he was not happy because of the way the boy had shamefully used his techniques. Soon the girls came to Hyun-soo's house. The boy was confused. In remote corners of the city, there were still small monsters of henchmen. However, the association and the guilds were already dealing with this issue in small, mobile units. There was a report on the scene. The leader of the Trinity Guild, Choi Hyun-soo, commented that they were actively searching and clearing the city, especially in the sewer tunnels. Locals can be calm, because hunters will find every humanoid amphibian. But perhaps not everything is so certain. In Yun's house, something was bubbling in the bathroom itself. The hospital. Ha Yurak and Mina came to visit the boy. The lioness was feeding Hyun-soo, while Lee Mina was peeling a fruit, although she didn't really like it. Ha Yurak said that she was very picky and jealous. If she doesn't like peeling, she should feed the boy herself, she said. Yaha also told Mina to show Hyun-soo the gift. The girl took out the box with a disgruntled look. She wanted to open the box even without her companion's instructions. In front of Hyun-soo was a small pearl. It was the heart of a monster. The girls brought it as a reward for killing the monster. The master thought it was an elixir. He said he had never seen an elixir of such great power. Lee Mina said that monster hearts are a substance that remains after the death of an old monster. There is great power inside. If you eat it, a young man's stats will increase many times over. For a low-level hunter, such a monster heart would raise one class. Although the snake was not that gigantic, if it had such a heart, it was very ancient. The master could see that this heart had as much as 500 years of chi energy in it. The young man asked why the girls gave him this artifact. They said they were just being kind to him. However, Mina said that how could a girl even think of keeping the heart, since it didn't even belong to her. Ha Yurak replied that she had to kill a lot of monsters before, so she didn't have time. By the way, you still need to know how to eat a heart properly. Lee Mina said that she would tell him everything as soon as he was discharged. But Ha Yurak objected and said that it was not necessary. She could tell him everything herself. The women argued about who knew best how to eat the heart and which way would have the greatest effect. The old man generally knew how to get the strongest effect almost completely. Ha Yurak pointed out that she knew more because she was Class S. Mina replied that this advantage did not give her more knowledge. The master and Hyun-soo watched the two tigresses fight tirelessly. The old man jokingly asked which one the young men planned to marry. The boy shouted in denial, so that the old man would not tease him. But he forgot that there were girls in the room. They noticed the boy's exclamation and wondered to whom he was speaking. The evening came. The girls decided to take turns talking to Hyun-soo. La Mina was the first to talk to the boy, while Ha Yurak waited in the hallway. Mina was showing off the new favorable terms in the boy's contract. She was trying to recruit him to the association. Since it would be no problem for him to move up to S class, she had to hurry to save the association's reputation. Hyun was at a loss for words. It was Jurak's turn to speak. The lioness looked back at Minu with a suspicious look. The girl entered the room. With a sharp movement, she approached the young man. Yaha tried to be as friendly and attractive as possible. The old man remarked that even he could be convinced by these beauties. The clever girl noted that the association must have offered attractive terms. In addition, they promised to grant immunity from criminal liability. The guy was surprised that she had guessed right. But Yaha said that later, when he received the S class, he would be untouchable in any case. After all, the power is not with those who have nuclear weapons or money. The authorities are the hunters of Class S. There is no point in immunity from crime if you have the highest class. It was quite convincing. The only thing the guy needs now is a guardianship. Specifically, the tutelage of the head of the Red Lion Guild, the girl said to herself. Leaving the room, Yurak wished Principal Lee good luck. Lee Nina was annoyed with the hot-tempered girl. She decided to check on the boy again. She went to his room again. However, Hyun-soo had a negative answer for the association. After all, he had chosen the guild. Director Lee said it was his choice, and she would not force him. She wished him a speedy recovery. Finally, the guy asked the girl for something. He thought it was quite impudent, but he was very sick and exhausted. He asked the association to help him. The old man whispered to him and told him that impudence is the second happiness. Meanwhile, Yun's home was full of prosperity. She prepared breakfast for the children and called them to eat. Today was a day off, which meant that she would be going to work part-time. The sleep-deprived children wanted to stay in bed. They started brushing their teeth. However, they heard some gurgling coming from their bathtub. It was an amphibian. A scream came from the bathtub. Yun was terrified. The monster began to catch up with the children. The older sister was confused. The monster grabbed her sister. The monster had already opened its jaw. Yun grabbed a knife and ordered the girl to put it down. Yun rushed at the monster with a kitchen knife. With all her strength, she pierced its skin. But it was not enough. The monster just threw the girl away. She flew across the kitchen, breaking dishes on her way. She fell to the floor. The brother watched all the horrors, but could do nothing. A moment later, the hunter girl returned to the house. It was Lee Min-na with her flying kettlebell. She pushed the monster away, causing it to release the girl. Her little sister also fell to the floor. The monster hit the wall, but was not defeated. It only became angrier. The girl used her strength and telekinesis to pick up all the kitchen knives and generate additional sharp objects from wood. She pointed them all in the direction of the amphibian. The monster tried to cover itself, but it didn't help much. It was covered in scratches and wounds. Knives were sticking out of its flesh. Finally, the girl concentrated powerful energy in her palms and tore the water monster's head off. Min-na immediately asked if everyone was okay. Everyone was fine. Yun asked how the girl knew they needed help. Director Lee replied that it was Hyun-soo who asked her to do it. The hospital again. The doctors were surprised, because Hyun-soo was already on his feet and had almost recovered. Despite the fact that he is a hunter and gets injured a lot, he has a really fast regeneration. The doctor noted that it was the first time he had ever seen such a speed of recovery. The guy went to the reception to pay for the treatment, but he was told that the Red Lion Guild had already paid all the bills. The guy was discharged. Walking through the streets of the city, he was happy with the news. The master thought that the girl named Ha Yurak took good care of her people. However, she probably didn't have much money left to pay all his bills. After a moment, the young man screamed like a madman. The old man said he was acting strangely and ordered him to be quiet. But Hyun-soo couldn't take his eyes off the phone. He had 600 million credited to his account. The master did not understand why the boy was so happy. But it was only a down payment. The young man could not comprehend his happiness. The master said that his student had lost his mind with so much gold. The boy replied that the teacher did not know what it was like to be poor. How can he know what it is like to see ramen in the store every day and not be able to afford it? It was probably a mistake for the boy to remind the old man about the ramen. The master picked up Hyun-soo and took off with him. He told him that the boy had to make the teacher some ramen right away. Time passed. The heroes were in their secret universe through the portal. The young man was sitting opposite the old man, and between them was the heart of a monster. The mentor said that absorbing this heart as an elixir would give him a 10% boost of chi energy, which would be equivalent to 20 years. Hyun-soo was fascinated. However, if the young man mastered the teacher's method, this figure would increase to 70%, or 140 years. The old man asked what the young man planned to do if he gained such power. The boy recalled the events that took place 2 years ago, the opening of the portals. It took so many lives, and he and Ha-young both lost loved ones. Now he is a hunter, and he will not allow people to experience such a tragedy again. The patriarch thought that perhaps the monsters were invading, that this was the invasion of the great horde that his ancestors had told him about. During the last battle, Hyun-soo used techniques that the old man had not taught him. The boy said he didn't remember it, but he knew it. This is how heavenly demons pass on their divine skills from generation to generation. The first celestial demon started it. He said that it was all for the sake of one day repelling the great horde. The boy's eyes became worried. He thought about it. The young man said that the problem was that this prophecy was not from his dimension. And so it was. This is another reason why the master wanted to return as soon as possible. At this time, Lee Min-na appeared above Hyun-soo's house. She came down on her kettlebell and checked to see if it was really his address. He seemed to be well enough, but for some reason, he didn't answer the phone. The young man's phone rang on the table, but he and the master were still in another dimension. But the girl had to quickly report what had happened in the Yun house. In the meantime, the patriarch ordered them to eat the monster's heart. Hyun didn't understand how to swallow such a large ball at once. The teacher said that he was a fool and that it should be eaten, not swallowed. He also said that if he hadn't been his teacher, the boy would probably have eaten the heart in small pieces to have minimal effect. So Hyun stretched out his hand to eat the fruit. He started eating. Meanwhile, in the normal world, Director Lee was still trying to get into the building. But luckily the door was open. She entered the boy's house. However, she didn't see anyone there, but a hole in the wall caught her eye. She was surprised and went to the portal. Hyun-soo held his heart in his mouth and listened to the master's instructions. The master said that he needed to steady his breathing in order to concentrate. If he made a mistake, he would be overwhelmed by the fall. He would survive, but he would be crippled forever in a supine position. The teacher told me to start with the inner shell of the aura. This heart should not be treated as food. One has to tune into its energy. After feeling it inside, one should slowly move it from the beginning to the dantian, and then to the internal healing point of the body, Wei-lu. The ability to follow the prompts is activated. Next, you need to slowly move it to the Baihui point. Very slowly. In the bachelor's house, Lee Min-na continued to be surprised. She thought that mold had formed on the wall because the guy didn't clean very much. She started to clean the house, filled a tray with water and detergent, and was about to wash the dirt when the bell rang. The general manager of the branch called the director. So she had to leave immediately. She was disappointed that she didn't have time to wash the mold. Min-na took to the air and flew away. In the secret dimension, the boy was still performing the procedure. He concentrated. The energy of the heart of the killed snake is, strangely enough, the fire energy of Yang. The master said that monsters of incredible power live in these portals. So much the better for the heroes. The martial arts of the heavenly demon are the quintessence of Yang energy. The guy would have had to change his polarity to Yang anyway, so it's good. The absorption rate of the elixir substance is 32%. When the elixir is completely dissolved in the aura, you need to concentrate it back into your inner shell. One must not allow the heart to escape. The degree of assimilation of the elixir substance is 50%. Hyun-soo was enveloped in powerful energy. He was very tense and concentrated. He was in great pain. The master told him to be patient. Inside the young warrior, a seed of strength and power of a celestial demon was sprouting. The degree of assimilation was already 60%. With every second, it became harder for the boy. The degree of assimilation was 70%. The blood from his body began to flow around Hyun-soo. He began to fall into a deep trance. The master said that the boy had entered the final stage and fell into a trance. The old man thought that the young man would be able to absorb a maximum of 70% of the elixir's power. However, the boy was already at 80%. Perhaps it was because of this dimension. It can provide more opportunities. When the absorption level reached 90%, Hyun-soo began to bleed heavily and become exhausted. The patriarch wanted to get to the end, so there was only 10% left. He decided to help his disciple. The master began to use a technique to give him a boost of energy. He distributed and released all the necessary energy. Hyun-soo was in an overwhelming state. The pain was endless. In a moment, the overload caused an explosion. The guy's outerwear burned. He had completely absorbed the elixir substance extracted from the ancient monster. His body reached the peak of yang energy. He became immune to thermal effects. The ability to follow clues was improved. A new effect has been obtained. Hyun-soo can learn the techniques of any individual once a day. The young man fell down from fatigue and exhaustion. A local hospital. Dozens, even hundreds of people were injured after the amphibian invasion. Doctors and rescuers were bringing the victims to the hospital in packs. The facility was in chaos. Nurses did not have time to serve so many patients. Dozens of people were left lying on the floor waiting to be rescued. La Mina could not even walk among so many people. It was all because of the amphibians. Lee Mina went into Yoon's room. She asked how she was feeling. The girl replied that she was feeling better. Director Lee said that her brother and sister had been transferred to Song Medical Center because there was a shortage of rooms. Yoon asked if her children were okay. Lee Mina replied that they were still unconscious. This is one of the symptoms after an amphibian attack. She encouraged the girl not to worry. They will do everything to help. With disappointment in her eyes, Yoon confided in Director Lee. She decided to dial Hyun-soo. Ring after ring after ring. But no one picked up. She put the phone in her pocket. Yoon was the one who suffered the most, Lee thought. Her sister hadn't woken up yet, because she was probably very scared. But her brother was not touched by the monster. So why are they both in a coma? The office of the Lion Guild. A man in a formal suit came to Ha-yurak's office. He said that the city had suffered 1 billion won in damages. There are 117 people injured, and new ones arrive every minute. The doctors also noticed a strange condition among those who arrived after the amphibian invasion. People are falling into comas. Yaha was surprised. Doctors are still looking for the cause of this condition. The girl said that it was not in their competence anyway. She thanked me and sent the man back. Ha-yurak called Hyun-soo, but he still hadn't picked up the phone. She was outraged and angry. He had just joined the guild, and he didn't even answer the head's call. This is after he was sent a salary of 600 million won. Europe. A city street with very beautiful architecture. In one of the establishments on this street, men were sitting and drinking various drinks. A blond man, leaning on a chair, wondered if the woman from the Red Lions had taken the boyfriend away. He was the head of the ES Guild, Class S. His name was Haxon Baldur. The muscular man across from him, named Jill Lord Demon, said that the young man was too impressive for a newcomer. Jill was an S-class hunter, and the only one of the hunters who was not contracted by any of the guilds. Haxon was surprised that Ha-yurak was able to recruit the boy. He would have killed him. The big man, Gil Lord Demon, told him not to talk nonsense. We need to live without war. But the man stood his ground. He thought it was better to kill the boy to prevent the Ha-yurak guild from becoming stronger. After all, the boy's strength was really impressive. The beach. The scorching sun was shining on Hyun-soo, who was resting on a sunbed. He felt the touch of a gentle hand. It was Mina. She said that he might be tired. But before she could finish, Ha-yurak interrupted the young man's rest. She explained that Hyun was sleeping too much. Yurak's friend told her that they were supposed to play volleyball, but the boy had probably forgotten about it. Whoever loses will pay for lunch, she said, throwing the ball. The boy didn't catch the ball and got hit in the face. Ihal laughed and said that he couldn't even accept such an elementary serve. But he said it was the first time he had ever played volleyball. The ball went far into the water. The boy went to pick it up and suddenly noticed some movement in the water. From the depths of the ocean emerged the same monster, a water snake. The creature ordered him to bring the heart elixir back. The monster attacked, and Hyun-soo and the boy were underwater. The boy became very hot. He felt like he was in the middle of a lava lake. Drowning in the abyss of water, the hero began to lose his mind. In a moment, he woke up. It was just a dream. Before he could wake up, the master managed to make a claim. He said that since the guy was awake, he should make him some ramen. The big needle under the clock on this tray had already passed the number 12 5 times while the boy was sleeping. Hyun-soo panicked, because it looked like he had been sleeping for 2.5 days. The association's office. Lee Mina answered the phone and was very concerned when she learned that Hyun-soo had eaten the elixir by himself. She said that he hadn't listened to her advice, and that he could have died. Listening to her complaints, the boy felt uncomfortable. The office of the Red Lion Guild. When Yaha Yurak learned the information about Hyun-soo, she was also concerned. But she said that there was nothing to be done about his temper. At least he was alive, and she thanked him. The guy was glad that the girl reacted calmly enough. He did not expect it. He said he would be in touch from now on. While Hyun-soo was talking, he didn't notice that he poked the old man with chopsticks. He called him a rascal for that. The young man was delighted. His level had risen. The ability to follow prompts was 3. He looked at the statistical interface and watched the updates. The key takeaway was that his strength would increase as he accumulated new skills. The boy screamed with joy, because in addition to this, he had a new ability. He could learn one new technique once a day. Also, from the statistical interface, the boy finally learned the name of the master Cheongyeon. He thought this was great news. After all, he could now perform one new technique that the master had not even taught him. The old man said that this new ability did not sound fair. Cheongyeong wanted to give the old man a brag, but Hyun dodged again. The young man said that his forehead was not a field for slapstick. The master wondered how he had learned to dodge his blows. Later, the hero went to the hospital. There he visited Hyun. He listened to what had happened to them and sympathized. The girl was worried about the younger ones. But Hyun-soo tried to calm her down. He said that he and Yoon were alike. They walked down the long corridors to another ward. The young man brought the girl to his brother, Hyun-tae. He was also in this hospital. He hadn't regained consciousness since the accident. The doctors can't answer why. Yoon leaned over to her brother with tears in her eyes. She greeted him and said that his brother Hyun-soo had done a lot for the girl. She said that Hyun-soo was waiting for his brother to come back. He has been waiting for a long time. Knowing that he couldn't hear, she asked him to come back anyway. Jeon-jaeon said that there was a strange aura coming from the boy's brother. He said that his heart was stamped with a curse. The master said there was one way to get around it. It was a large building. In the middle of the building was a graceful rod. 70 million was the price for this spear. 1, 2, and an unknown man in a red shirt raised his hand. It was the head of the Aegis Guild, Choi Jae-hyuk Nim. The amount was accepted. The price went up to 80 million. 1, 2, and Jin Si-hyuk Nim accepted the amount. Choi Jae-hyuk was annoyed. 80 million won is about $68,000. The auction continued. After a while, Jin Si-hyuk was walking happily to his car, saying that today was a very productive day. Suddenly, he heard Choi Hyuk's voice. He was saying that Jin Si was crazy to pay 200 million won for a thing that cost about 70 million. But he said that he wouldn't have regretted even 300 million. Jin Seo told the caller that if Choi Hyuk's heart was in his throat when he heard the 200 million won price, then what was he doing at the auction? He should have gone and eaten some ramen instead, she thought. Without hesitating for a moment, the enraged Hyuk kicked the car. It sent Choi's car flying. Fortunately, the man managed to dodge. Choi Hyuk asked if the winner was tired of living like a winner. But Jin Seo was not confused, and took out his spear. He said he would use his newly acquired weapon instead. The man with the red shirt said that now she would see that his weapon was worth no more than 70 million. She quickly launched an attack with a spear. But Choi Hyuk's hands turned to metal, and he dodged. He counterattacked his opponent with a powerful punch of energy that flew at him with a spear. Jin Seo got the boot. He flew several meters away. Choi Hyuk told him that he probably didn't know that everyone who defeated him at the auction didn't come out alive. The Red Lions Guild. As it turned out, Choi Hyuk was from their guild. Yaha Yurak said that he was only creating problems for them. After all, she had received many complaints about her husband again. But he said that he couldn't help but get angry because the other man had just come and taken his item at the auction. Yaha instantly shut him up. In an angry tone, she said that if he continued, she would not make any concessions. She said that if she heard him complaining about him again, she would tear him to pieces herself and then burn him. She threw him out of the office screaming. On the manager's desk was a photo of Ha Yurak with a man. On his way out of the office, Choi Hyuk wanted to ask something. He asked when he would be introduced to that new A-class guy. Yaha said that it was none of his business. The man assured her that he wasn't trying to establish a hierarchy. Furious, Ha Yurak used fire and warned him one last time to leave. The man wanted to meet with Hyun-soo. He hoped it would happen soon. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Yoon learned that Hyun-soo was now a hunter. The guy was a little embarrassed, but he said that he really was a hunter now. The girl was delighted. Yoon said that perhaps the high-ranking official Mihan Ani had helped him with this. The young man said that he would visit Hyun-tae and her brother and sister, so he told her not to worry and to get some rest. With a calm soul, the girl went home. Returning to his brother, young Chon remembered that Master Cheongyeong knew how to help Hyun-tae. Master Chong said that he needed a chopping heavenly tongue. The statistical interface showed that Hyun-soo had learned about the advanced level skill chopping heavenly tongue. But his mentor said that he couldn't use it at the moment. Hyun-soo asked why. It was a secret technique that was a type of sorcery invented by one of the heavenly demons. The young man could not use it because he did not have the body of a heavenly demon. But he was happy and said that he could do it. The teacher did not understand him. The persistent young man explained that because he had improved his skill of following the hints, he could repeat any of the master's techniques once a day. Concentrating, the boy extended his hand to his brother. The statistical interface showed that Hyun-soo was successfully performing the chopping heavenly tongue technique. The technique was really working. The old man didn't understand how it was possible. At first, he didn't think the boy's ability was that powerful. Hyun-soo continued to conjure with the new technique. He increased the flow of chi. Hyun-tae's heart began to beat faster. The young man tensed up. He tried his best. The flow of energy became too great. But a flash, and the magic dissipated. The technique did not work. The old man said he felt the power of an incredibly powerful creature. He said that the boy should not be disappointed, because he simply did not have enough strength at the moment. Hyun-soo asked if the problem was that he was not yet experienced enough. The master said that this was indeed the case. At that time, Jill Lord Demon, the same S-class hunter who belonged to no one, said that they needed the strongest hunters. He was arguing with the head of the ES Guild, Haxon Baldur. Yamamoto Takashi, an S-class hunter and vice leader of the ES Guild, joined the men in the room. He noticed that the men were very loud when arguing. The hunters had a bunch of cans of alcohol on the table. That's why Takeshi was against working for Hakusen. Gil said that then Yamamoto Takeshi could be independent, like himself. The big guy Gil asked about a fragment in Takeshi. He replied that everything was the same. There was nothing but a desolate desert. Then perhaps it was worth looking for a new fragment in Korea, Gil thought. Since it was entrusted to the Red Lions, it would have to wait. In the meantime, they would watch. The appearance of that hunter, Park Hyunsoo, might advance the search for the fragment, the big man thought. Takeshi agreed. So he said that an expedition would soon take place. Jill began to talk. If the boss of paradise is a descendant of dragons, then the portals scattered around the world are fragments of paradise. Collecting all the fragments in a year is like a curse. The voice of the dragon said that if people think that this is the end of it, they are mistaken. If they don't collect all the fragments in 1 year, this world will face such a horror that even the S-class won't be able to win. Takeshi said they have to find all the fragments in 1 year, no matter what the cost. That's why they need as many high-ranking hunters as possible. Hospital. Hyun-soo visits her brother and sister Yoon. They were still unconscious. The doctors did everything they could, but there was no result. There were many other patients in the room. A woman in the other corner of the room asked about her husband, who was also unconscious. The nurse said that a doctor would come soon to examine him. The master said that the reason was the cold energy. All these people met with water monsters. Creatures underwater have yin energy beforehand. These water monsters have particularly strong yin energy. That is why those who have high yin energy cannot accept it. When their yin energy and the yin energy of the water monsters meet, it combines and becomes cold energy. It's like they go into hibernation. Hyun asked if there was any way to cure them. The teacher said that you can use yang energy to remove the yin energy, then they can wake up. A boy across the room saw this and told him to bring it to his mother's attention. The woman turned around and walked over to Hyun-soo, who had picked up Yoon's brother from the bed. She said that the children needed to be in a stable condition. However, the boy showed his mother that it was the hunter who killed the snake in Mugi. Hyun-soo pressed his hand to the patient's chest and began to release yin energy. When the energy began to flow out, the master ordered him to burn it now. The guy intended to absorb this energy. But the master noticed that he had yang energy in his body, and he might get sick if he absorbed it. However, he ignored the advice and continued to absorb it. The old man was worried. But the young man managed to absorb everything successfully. His body moved from extreme yang to the harmony of yin and yang. The boy went into a trance for a moment. The patriarch said that this was the peak of the 3 flowers. The master was sure that he had seen the boy reach the peak of the 3-flower blossom. When Hyun-soo came out of the trance, he asked the master what a body with the harmony of yin and yang is. A body with the harmony of yin and yang is a body that has realized both extreme yin and extreme yang. The master did not believe that the boy was capable of such a thing. He thought it was a fraud and a trick. However, Brother Yoon woke up. He looked at Hyun-soo. He was happy that the boy recognized him. The woman urgently called a doctor. When he saw the miracle the boy was doing, he was amazed. He unabsorbed the girls in as well. Everyone was delighted. When Yoon heard the news, she burst into tears of joy. She was very grateful. Meanwhile, Director Lee Mi-na was not yet aware of the news. The number of unconscious patients was growing so fast that there were no more beds. Director Lee said that she would ask the head of the department to increase the number of hospital beds as well as the number of medical staff. A moment later, she was told that Hyun-soo had managed to cure several patients. She was surprised and immediately reported to Ha-yurak. He continued to heal people. Everyone was happy. The statistical interface showed that the young man had reached the first level of the body with yin and yang harmony. The young man was satisfied. People thanked him and said that God must have sent him to help them. Hyun-soo cured ward after ward. Everyone was delighted. People were grateful. Some even wanted to take pictures with him. The master was happy for the young man. After all, he was used to heavenly demons being praised and glorified. The teacher said that the boy should get used to this attitude. While the young man was restoring the people, his phone rang. It was Ha-yurek. He said he was in Saesan Hospital, but the girl already knew. She said that the association had sent a request for help to their hospitals. Of course, this is not free, so they sent a check with payment. Yurek said he could take it all for himself. But he was just a member of the guild. He was uncomfortable. The girl said that the contract said that if the guy did something of his own free will, it was his business. Yaha thought that now the association would be under the authority of the guild. She was happy and thanked the guy. It was a quiet night in Europe at the time. The head of the guild, E.S. Hackson, received a call. He was informed that Park Hyunsoo's whereabouts had been discovered. The man asked to send him the data. He grabbed his jacket and went outside. He took a half-crouched position to concentrate. An energy flicker appeared around Hackson. In a moment, the man rose up and flew at supersonic speed into the dark space of the deep night. Hyun-soo was already tired of feeding the master ramen. But the teacher said that he himself called this dish the best food in the world. In desperation, the young man went to cook ramen. But he was interrupted by a call from the head of the Yurek. Hyun-soo wondered why the girl was calling at such a time. She asked him where he was. The guy was at home. Yaha ordered him to leave the house quickly. Hyun didn't understand why he had to do that. But Master Cheongyeong told him that something powerful was coming. An object had entered Korean airspace. Hyun-soo immediately started running away from the house. He ran outside. Suddenly, he heard a loud sound. He looked up and saw that someone was flying right over his street. In a moment, it landed right in front of the boy. The powerful landing caused manhole covers to fly open and cars to move. A man's silhouette emerged from the smoke screen. It was Hackson Baldur. Without explaining anything, the man began to concentrate an energy layer and said he would kill the boy. Park Hyunsoo panicked. Hackson made the first attack with his powerful energy. Before he could reach the boy, there was an explosion. The office of the association. The alarm went off. As expected, an unknown living organism is now in the area where Park Hyunsoo lives. Supersonic speed, even among S-class, is rare. It's most likely a Hackson. Lee Min-na immediately informed Ha Yurek about it. That man hated Yurek to the core. I thanked Ha for the information and started to take off my shoes. She said she was the only one who could stop him. A fiery energy appeared around the girl. Lee Min-na also thought she needed help. The CEO assured Director Lee not to leave. He said that it looked like there would be an S-rank battle, so there was no point in leaving. The association would not stand aside in any case. They have already asked the Azure Dragon Squad to start preparing to use the Mirror Dimension Divine Thing. A squad on speedy motorcycles was already on its way. A bee, an ant, and a cheetah. They were told to get ready, because this was Class S. It was a completely different level from what they had experienced before. The members of the squad understood the leader and rallied together. One of the team members, Sokol, was assigned to the mirror dimension. The man said he was already in position and would move. He was standing on one of the skyscrapers. In a moment, he jumped into free air. His arms turned into huge wings. His head turned into a bird's head. He flew away. Meanwhile, Hackson tensed up, because Hyun-soo had repelled the caller's attack. The master could not believe that the boy had also received the power of Yin and Yang. It looks like he has reached the evolution realm. The evolution realm is one of the realms found in the Murim world. The speed of his growth is amazing. But the power he felt from him was an order of magnitude higher than that of the girl in red, the master thought. At the very least, he had reached the realm of the highest peak from which the old man had come. Hyun-soo asked Haksun why he had attacked him for no reason. Haksun was surprised that the A-class hunter had deflected his attack. The young man heard a strange sound. There was an accident somewhere nearby. He shouted for everyone to evacuate immediately. Cheongyeong ordered the young man to stay focused on the fight. The man struck again with his energy. The boy deflected it as well. He thought that Haksun was using the same attack in vain. But the attack was not identical. The thief was behind the hero's back. He began to transform his body. His hands were covered with metal. Hyun-soo panicked. The man continued to attack. Haksun used a supersonic punch with a speed of 3 Mach. At the last moment, Hyun-soo used a block, but the punch was so powerful that it still flew many meters away, piercing the wall. After punching through the concrete wall, he found himself inside the room. He could not feel his right arm. The guy was in despair. He did not plan to end up like this. Haksun entered the building. He was preparing to strike again, at a speed of 5 swings. And then he heard the voice of the master. Had he been practicing the movements of a celestial demon in vain? The ability, listening to instructions, is activated. The level of comprehension of flying a heavenly demon is 57%. Heavenly demon movement second technique. Flying a celestial demon. The guy used a new technique. With incredible speed, he headed towards Haksun. He split into several copies of himself. But the opponent knocked out the real one, and Hyun-soo flew through the walls and buildings again. Meanwhile, Ha-yurak was already on the way. She hoped that Hyun-soo and the European guest hadn't met yet. She wondered how long Hyun-soo could hold out against Haksun. She thought that 20 seconds would be enough time for the fight to end between them. So she was in a hurry. The young man was chained to the wall. The thief approached the hero and wondered why he was still alive. After all, he expected the boy to die with a single blow. The master thought that even though his student's level of understanding was not very high, he almost immediately tried to strike with the new technique. He was really strong, but if he couldn't overcome this challenge, he would most likely not be able to grow as a celestial demon. The thief was stunned by how long the hero was able to hold out. The wounded Hyun-soo said he didn't understand what he was talking about. He was overwhelmed with anger. Haksun was about to attack again. But the young warrior concentrated a powerful burst of energy. There was only anger in his eyes. The opponent even squinted at the brightness of the young man's energy. In a moment, the boy swung and struck the heathen. The release of energy was very powerful, causing an explosion. So the hero concentrated his energy and performed a powerful Semya punch. A part of Haksun's metal armor broke off. The impact was so powerful that it provoked an explosion. The man flew several meters away, but barely slowed down. He did not expect a blow of such power. His metal arm was further damaged. He didn't understand how an A rank could carry out such attacks. It was impossible. The thief used the silver pulse technique. He repaired the metal arm in an instant and doubled the effect on the other. The elder believed that his level of recovery was on par with demonic monsters. The mentor ordered him not to let Haksun relax and rest. He advised using a tree kick to destroy his insides. Listening to instructions activated. The guy started to imitate the tree kick. The man was injured. Hyun-soo thought that he would slowly be able to destroy every transmutation of the enemy. But Haksun dissolved into space in an instant, turning into water. The boy was surprised. He thought that he had dissolved from the impact of a tree. But the patriarch said that his energy was still here. Therefore, he was alive. Having concentrated his attention, the young man did not notice how the enemy of Znenitsk appeared from below and caught the hero. The young warrior shifted, but managed to stay on his feet. Suddenly, the enemy disappeared again. He was behind Hyun-soo's back. Grabbing him by the head, the thief almost stabbed the young man, but said he would kill him painlessly. Again, Hyun thought the same thing. The boy said that he would not let this happen to him. He dodged and counterattacked with a letter, punch. The thief was injured again, this time very painfully. The young man's attack even cut through part of the house, like a blade. Hackson had a wound on his side. But he recovered quickly again. I had to make a series of attacks so that he could not regenerate so quickly. However, it is too dangerous, as there are many locals here. Hyun-soo took off running and headed for the school on the hill. It was a day off, and there were no children there. This place was to minimize the damage as much as possible. Hackson's wound was significant. Even after using the silver pulse, he did not fully restore it. The man began to concentrate to telepathically locate the boy. With supersonic speed, he moved from the spot and left an explosion in his wake. The guy was already there. He was checking the building for people. He reached the top floor. Running along the long school corridor, the hunter began to catch up with him. He said that the boy was trying too hard to protect others. In a moment, the thief threw the boy into the wall. He punched a hole in it and fell into an office. Angry and exhausted, the man said that people like Hackson, who don't care about civilians, don't deserve to be hunters. He quickly moved toward the man, but he was behind the hero again. With a powerful punch, he hit Hyun-soo. The blow of such force sent him flying down several floors. Falling and breaking through ceiling after ceiling, the building collapsed. Hackson said that he even felt sorry for the young man. Who would have thought he would last so long? The powerless young man was lying on the lowest floor, unable to respond. The thief began to generate energy to deliver a super destructive blow. He said it was all because of the boy's boss. The energy ball was very powerful. It radiated extreme power. In an instant, the man unleashed all his power, which triggered an explosion. The destructive wave was so strong that the building could not withstand it. Everything began to explode. The school was destroyed to the ground, as if it had never existed. Hackson demonstrated his strength. It came down to the ground. Everything was destroyed. He believed that this country had a problem with skills assessment. After all, in his opinion, Hyun-soo already had the rank of S. From the rubble, a guy's voice was heard. He said that in that case, he wasn't done yet. Hackson was confused for a second. When he turned around, he saw a young man crawling out from under a mountain of rocks. Hyun-soo flew out from under the rubble, shining with blue energy. Hackson laughed ominously. The boy was full of strength. The thief said that once again the boy had impressed him. The hero slowly approached the man. He said he would burn the boy until he turned to ashes. He began to concentrate the blow. But something went wrong. His energy did not want to listen to him. It simply disappeared. This had never happened before. The guy was getting closer and closer. Hackson thought that his body could still function normally anyway. Hyun-soo walked up to the shelter. The man took a swing and said that this was the last blow for the good man. The hero dodged it. Hackson tensed up, but realized that he would not have time to block the blow. Boom, and the young warrior landed a powerful punch. Now he was confident in his abilities. Heavenly, crushing, demonic fists are the second technique. The C punch. Hackson received blow after blow. He flew into a pile of rubble. The guy was getting stronger and stronger, and was determined to finish the bad guy. 5 days later. The secret dimension of heroes. Hyun-soo was training with an old man. They practiced new punches and moves. The boy tried his best. He continued to attack the master. But he could not win. The old man took a fighting stance and threw the boy very far away. He fell to the ground with a great thud. Hyun-soo continued to train. He tried to meditate. The teacher told him to listen while the energy circulated. The young man had the seed of the heavenly demon and the incredible inner energy of the Amugi snake, but he could not use them properly. Although he received more internal energy, he did not feel that he became stronger, except for high regeneration. But why? He wondered. Master Cheongyeong told me to think of it as a deep well. The strong can bring water hundreds of times. A weak one will probably not bring it 10 times. The water in the well will not run out. So the boy thought he had to become stronger. The training that will help him become stronger and use his inner energy is a real fight with an opponent. A victory over a strong opponent is better than hundreds of training sessions. Let's go back to our time. The guy's opponent was right in front of him. This is his first, really powerful opponent. Hyun-soo was lying among the rubble. He was furious and very angry. The man started to get out from under the pile of stones. Hyun-soo was faced with a changed opponent. The thief's entire body was covered with metal. He was recovering. The young man was surprised that the opponent was still standing after 2 blows from the seed. Maybe he was a monster. On the other hand, the young warrior felt as if his body was on fire from this attack. Hyun-soo was once again amazed by the young man. He could not believe that he could hit him so hard. No wonder Hyurak wanted to keep the boy to himself. The man was angry. He said he was called an astral magician, but he was no worse in close combat. He quickly moved toward Hyun-soo. The man accelerated to 5 strokes. Before the hero could even notice him, he received a powerful blow between his chest. Hyun flew away from such powerful kinetic energy. Hyun was so fast that he had already calculated where the hero would fall and was in position to cut off his head. His hands turned into large blades like crab claws. Time stood still in flight. Hyun-soo was approached by the master. He told him that if the bastard didn't get his act together now, his head would fall off. He ordered to use the soul of a heavenly demon. Listening to the instructions was activated. The level of understanding of the heavenly demon soul increased to 65%. The concerned master said that the young man should be able to do it. The main thing is to be confident. As Hyun-soo was flying, he began to recall the training. He remembered saying that the heavenly demon soul technique was very difficult. The old man said that it might be difficult to understand. You have to take a step back and let your consciousness go through this point. That's right. The first step is to let your body pass through the barrier point. So in real time, the guy was almost facing the claws of Hyun. But at the last moment, by concentrating, he used the celestial demon soul technique. His soul separated from his physical body. And then the hero completely disappeared before the eyes of the sorcerer. Hyun raised his hands to cut the hero's head, but the young man disappeared into space before he could reach his claws. The man was confused and did not understand what was happening. After all, he had just seen Park Hyunsoo in front of him. An energy ball appeared out of nowhere, followed by an explosion, which provoked the guy's appearance. Out of the bright light, Hyunsoo appeared in front of the thief. He was already concentrating his energy to strike. It was so fast that Hyun didn't have time to react. The young man performed a tree punch. It was followed by a big explosion. But the explosion was behind him. It did not hit the sorcerer. Hyunsoo was confused. It seems that the tree punch only works on a biological body, but Hyun's torso was already completely made of metal. The blow didn't work. The guy had used all his energy for this punch. All his strength to draw water from the well, but in vain. The thief just smiled. In a moment, he counterattacked the boy. War. There were a lot of corpses lying on the battlefield. These were the memories of the elder. He was a young celestial demon. He was full of perseverance, despite the fact that his comrades were dead. The divine demonic entity he fought against claimed that the warrior was the only one left alive, which impressed the beast. But he knew that Cheongyeon had lost almost all of his strength. The heavenly demon had no intention of giving up. He vowed to kill the demon in honor of his dead comrades. The monster gave the warrior a chance to come to his side and be his right hand. But the hero was relentless. The monster had no idea how Cheongyeong planned to fight on without his inner energy. However, the man replied that this martial art is a martial art that celestial demons can use without internal energy. He said that he was able to draw strength from nature, the divine arts of celestial demons. The demon did not understand him. The master used his celestial spiritual body. At that time, people and rescuers began to come to the destroyed school. Later, the Azure Dragon unit arrived. The same soldiers on motorcycles. They quickly arrived at their destination. We had to act with the utmost caution. The whole area was completely destroyed. How could it be done in 20 minutes, the heroes thought. The soldiers approached cautiously from all sides. They had heard that the intruder was hunting for the hunter Park Hyunsoo. They thought he was already dead. However, when they took out their binoculars, they saw that Hyun-soo was still fighting with the enemy. The opponents continued to exchange blows, unable to kill each other. The boy wondered why Hyun just appeared out of nowhere and attacked him. The sorcerer replied that he had no idea what he was talking about. The young man was irritated by his answer. The motorcyclists were still just watching, and they saw the fight happen. Hyun laughed. His energy beam had been restored. It soared to the sky. The energy in his chest was overflowing. He directed the energy beam at the boy. Hyun-soo was confused, but at the last moment he was saved by the master. But the beam still hit the boy. He was wounded. The power of the energy beam created a small crater. The heroes from the Azure Dragon squad had no idea how to deal with such a powerful monster. Hyun did not understand what had happened. The boy was supposed to die, but at the last moment, it was as if someone pushed him away. In any case, Hyun-soo would have enough strength for one more blow, the thief thought. A drone was hovering over the rescued hero, broadcasting everything live to the association's office. Lee Min-na was rooting for him and worried. The master ordered the snot-nosed kid to stand up. Even though he was his teacher, he couldn't save him all the time. The boy looked at his teacher tiredly. He saw the master in the form of a young celestial dragon. A part of him began to sink into the boy's consciousness. He seemed to be receiving some of his teacher's memories. Meanwhile, Lee Min-na ordered the squad to intervene immediately before the sorcerer destroyed him. The squad began to move into position. Some of the younger members of the squad were afraid to fight such a powerful hunter. But in a moment Hyun-soo stood up with the last of his strength. The master said that he would have to stop the fight to prevent the boy from dying. He wanted to help him escape. The teacher said that Hyun-soo was already exhausted, so he could not do anything. The young warrior objected. He reminded the master of his ability to listen to instructions. He could learn one of the master's techniques in a day. The boy said he could reproduce one of his skills. The squad now canceled the order. Hyun called out that he could not hear what the boy was muttering. Hyun-soo, thanks to his master's memories, wanted to use a martial art that he could use without internal energy, namely, the heavenly spiritual body. The teacher did not understand how the boy would do it if he had never taught him it. The hero concentrated and took off into the air. Hyun noticed that Hyun-soo was really strong, but he was tired of babysitting him. The sorcerer released a more powerful energy beam. However, the young hero was not confused. Instead, he concentrated the energy in his palms and released his own energy beam in response. At the last moment of the collision of energies, someone threw a mirror dimension between them. It began to absorb their energy. The opponents tried their best. Eventually they stopped. But the mirror dimension took too much energy and collapsed. The subscribers went down to the ground. A falcon flew overhead and threw the magic mirror onto the battlefield. Hackson said the idea was hopeless. The other members of the squad were concerned that the mirror dimension had collapsed. Suddenly, a fiery tail appeared in the sky. It was Hyun-tae. She landed on the battlefield. Hyun-soo was surprised. The girl praised the boy. She was delighted to see how long the young man had withstood Haksung. She ordered the Azure Dragon squad to stay in position and not interfere. After all, she said she could handle it herself. The young team members breathed a sigh of relief. Haksung thought the girl had overestimated her abilities. Suddenly, a portal began to appear in space. Everyone was at a loss. As it turned out, Haksung's friends came out of the portal. Yamato Takashi and Jill Lord Demon. A week ago. Committee on the Affairs of the Gate. The committee meeting. The automatic transfer device is activated. All members were asked to put on their headphones for transport. When the members joined, they were told about the gate that the ancient dragon had spread. In countries where there are guilds with S-class hunters, they will be responsible for the paradise. If the gate appears in countries where there are no S-class hunters, then the committee will choose a guild to go there, depending on the situation. Haksung, as a member of the committee, said that they had called them in vain to announce the decision. In a disgruntled tone, he said that the life of humanity depends only on how strong they are. He and the Yes Guild would act at their own discretion. Hyun-tae, who was also a member, objected to Haksung. She said that they needed to work together to have a chance of surviving this serious disaster. The man said that he alone could stop it, and then humanity would live. Otherwise, it will die.